Good morning, everyone. It's Tiffany with Ready Set Crop coming to you live with a process video from my virtual craft room. I had advertised this week that I was going to be doing a class called Ready Set Leftovers. I was thinking this was a fun idea for the day after Thanksgiving when we're thinking about all the leftover turkey and stuffing and all of those things, but this is leftovers with paper, my favorite thing. So let me show you what we're going to do today. I am going to do some layouts using just scraps. Now, if you've watched me before, you know that I'm a pretty frugal scrapper and I tend to use a lot of scraps anyway. So this is pretty natural for me, but a lot of times when I'm scrapbooking with friends at a crop, they'll say, oh my God, I don't know how you put that together. You just had like a bunch of scraps. And so I thought, well, why don't I show specifically when I make an effort to make a layout with scraps, how I do it. So I'm going to show you a few different ways that I like to use my scraps to kind of make my supplies go further and, you know, make the most out of all the kits that I get. So first I'm going to show you how I organize my kits. So I get these project folders, and when I buy a collection, I will put everything from the collection in a project folder. I've got this big pocket here that I put my papers, and this one has two different sets of papers. This was Our Moments. That I really love this collection. So I've got two different sets of papers in here, and for the time being I keep them kind of in the bag just so I know the two different sets of papers. And then I've got some embellishments here. I've got the variety mats here, and then I put the stickers in the back. And then this pocket here tends to be all of my scraps. And yeah, I will save a piece like that. I will save this piece. I even save little pieces like this because you just never know. So I will keep them like this until I get down to the nitty-gritty and there's not much left. And then I will take all of this out and I will divide my scraps by color, and I'll put them in project folders with just scraps of colors. And then this folder will be empty and it will be for a whole new collection, which is always a really satisfying feeling. And I try to keep myself limited to the number of collections, and I try to just use it until it's gone, and then I can start something new. So that's how I organize my collections to start with. And then I end up with a lot of scraps, and so I'm going to put together a few layouts today using some scraps. Why don't I start with this one here? I do need a background paper because you have to start with something full 12 by 12. So I'm going to use this little collage. This was for my son's birthday this year, and I did a collage on Instagram, and I just printed it as a 5 by 7 so I can put that right on my layout. So I am going to just flip through the papers and find kind of a neutral background that I can use. Oh, I like that. There's a really big scrap. That's great. So I think I'm going to use that. And maybe I'll use this paper because this is going to be I'm going to use these two together. That's kind of nice. This is going to be a really quick one to put together. Oh, I've got this scrap here that's really cool. Maybe I'll try that too. I'm going to slide these back into the pocket and set them aside. So this isn't, these are pretty big scraps. I'm kind of cheating here because this isn't like tiny little pieces, but it's a good one to start with. So I'm going to pull out my circle cutters, and I've got a big piece, so I'm going to choose the biggest circle cutter that I have, and I think I'm going to do the blue blade. Yeah, I'm going to do the blue blade with this, and set these papers aside, and I'm just going to use this one here. And like I said, I got lucky. I had a big chunk in there. I didn't know what I had for papers in there, but I had a big chunk. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut out 2 circles, but I'm going to pretend that I don't have enough to cut out 2 circles, because for this idea, I wanted to show you, if you had a smaller piece, how you could still use the circle cutters for this technique. So I'm going to pretend that I don't have a big enough paper to make 2 circles. And so I'm just going to fit the circle cutter on here the best I can. I didn't do a great job of cutting that out, but It's early for me. I am a late night scrapper, so doing something on a Friday morning is not my natural crafting time. So this is a challenge for me to get my brain working this early. But I know some people are morning people. So here's my background paper, and I just quickly cut out 2 circles. I partially cut out 2 circles. I was pretending that I didn't have enough paper to do 2 circles. So I'm going to hang that off the edge because I didn't quite do a good job with that one. And then I'm going to put this one down here. I'm going to hang that one off the edge on the bottom a little bit. And then I'm just going to use my scissors to flip that over and trim the excess. You could use your paper trimmer too. But for this, I'm just going to go really quickly with the scissors. Now these scraps, I'm not going to save. That's too tiny. And then I have my photo here. I'm going to trim that. And this was a 5x7 print, but it's square, so it's a 5x5. I've got a little bit of a white border around it. And I'm going to see if it fits on here. And it does. Hooray. Grab my paper trimmer. Let me adhere this on here. Now, because I have made this collage and it already said happy birthday to my son, I don't really need a title on this, which is great. I've already saved myself a step. And I'm just going to trim this paper here just so I have a little bit of a border around it. This edge was a little funny, so I'm going to trim that. Now these scraps I will save. Those will go right back in the project folder because those will be great for something else. Now I've got kind of 2 triangles, so I could easily go like this and like this on another layout. And it would make it really quick and easy. So these are going to go tucked right in that front pocket again. I've got this here. I can put this right in the middle. I could have it up here, and I could have some journaling down here, which I might actually do. Let me see if I have a pocket that I could. If I have a, like one of these cards would be really cute down here to do the journaling. I've got this scrap that was left over. So I can easily put this up here, put this down here, do some journaling. Super quick layout. Just going to do my journaling, stick it in the album, and I'm done. So there is layout number 1. Using a scrap of paper, make 2 smaller circles and have them hanging off the edge. That way it gives you the look of the full circle, but if you don't have enough paper to do a full circle, you can do a partial circle, have it hanging off, and it kind of tricks the eye. So there's my first layout done. Hi Judy, happy Thanksgiving. Hope you're enjoying a relaxing day. The day after Thanksgiving for me is always a day of crafting because I don't do Black Friday stuff. And so, yeah, I just do crafting. My daughter's already FaceTimed me a couple of times from stores asking questions about things, but I don't, so I will answer FaceTime questions. So here's my Serenity collection, and this never got into a project folder. I just started working out of the bag, and that's fine. But when I flipped it over, I saw these 3 pieces here, and I thought, oh, that's perfect for another layout. So I'm going to grab this scrap, this scrap, this scrap. I mean, they're from the same collection, so they're meant to go together already. They're already coordinating. And then I do need a full 12 by 12 piece of paper. You could certainly use cardstock as your background. I'm just going to use this kind of off-white, it's white with gray grid paper as my background. This is going to be another really super simple layout to put together. This was another one of my son's birthday collages. I just got this idea that I do a collage every year for his birthday, and his birthday's in October, but I don't ever print them out, and I thought, oh, I want to print out my kids' birthday collages that I do and just put them in an album. So it'll be a quick way for me to get those pages in an album. So I printed this one as a 5x7 as well. I'm going to put it right in the center. And I'm going to trim these papers. Now this, I do happen to have big chunks of these scraps as well, but this technique would work great with small scraps. If you only have little 1-inch scraps, this technique still works. Now I'm stacking all 3 together, and I'm eyeballing at about 1 inch. And I'm just cutting. Oh, that one didn't quite go through. I should have gone twice through there to make sure I got them all the way through. Let me move those down. Still have tons of scraps left for that one, which I love. Okay, so I'm going to pull this back over. And so if you're doing if you're doing 2 12x12 layouts, if you are a 2-page spread person, I'm always a 1-page spread person. But if you're a 2-page spread, you can easily use these techniques and just double them up for 2 pages. And then, you know, this could be one big 5x7 photo. This could be a cluster of photos. You can have your photos going across. But the idea is we just have a few strips stacked here. And I'm going to give the illusion that the paper is going throughout the entire page. So I'm going to go like this. I'm going to take my biggest strip and I'm going to tuck it on either side of this paper. And actually I'm going to make them look like banners. So I'm going to fold, I'm just going to pinch the bottom in half, and I am going to cut from the corner up towards the fold. So I get this little banner effect. When I didn't tape down my paper, I gotta tape that down first, my picture. So I'm gonna adhere my picture right to the center, like that. Then I've got my little banner, and I'm gonna tuck it just slightly underneath. And I'm gonna take that other piece of blue, again, I'm gonna pinch it. You're cutting at an angle from the corner up towards the center. And that gives you that nice banner. It's a nice even banner. You know, if you try cutting it with scissors, it's like cutting bangs, and every time you trim one side, the other side is a little bit short. So I'm going to do that with each of these strips, and just repeating that process. This strip is a little bit shorter, and I'm going to tuck it under that last one. So this works fine as long as you don't put adhesive right to the edge, because you want to have that space to tuck that next piece underneath. And this also works well for the eye, because in my collage I have vertical lines and horizontal lines, and now I'm putting vertical lines with the patterns. And so my last pattern here is this tan color, and it's got this confetti on the other side, but that would blend in too much. So I'm gonna still go with the tan side and tuck that underneath my last one. And because each scrap that I had was a little bit different size, you have this nice graduating effect of the tallest down to the smallest, going out from the photo, and that really helps to draw the eye in. Now I could certainly go back and add stickers. I will probably add a little bit of journaling to this afterwards, and I have plenty of spaces for that. But that's just using strips of paper, cut them in half, and it gives you this idea that this paper goes all the way across. And it's, you know, carrying your eye, it's bringing your eye right to the center of the photo. Hi Nancy, happy Thanksgiving. So that's it for my second layout. Super fast, super easy, simple layouts. Sometimes we just need to do some simple layouts to catch up, and using scraps like this is the perfect way to do that. So I'm gonna set this one aside. That was layout number 2. And let's see what I have for number 3. So this one here, I have a picture of my sister and I hiking a couple of weeks ago, and then a picture of the view. And this is silver and gold, shades of silver and gold. I use this a ton. I don't have a lot of scraps left. I used this so much. So I'm gonna start first with trimming my photos, and then I need to grab a background paper. I haven't had breakfast yet, and I am planning on a piece of pie for breakfast because that's what you get to do at Thanksgiving, right? You get to have pie for breakfast. Straighten my phone a little bit. Did any of you have pie for breakfast? Really, any time of the year that you have pie in leftover, I think you're allowed to have pie for breakfast. I think that's a perfectly fine way to have breakfast. So let's see, I don't know if I have any full sheets in silver and gold. I don't think that I do. So I actually have to pull out a piece of paper for this, which is fine, I can do that. All right, this is a cover to a different packaging that I had, but it makes great background paper. So I'm gonna use that as my background. And then I'm going to do some strips again, but this time we're going to go vertically. So I've got this gray strip that was in here, and I've got this piece of paper. Oh, actually, you know what? I'm gonna do some horizontals. And I've got this piece, and then I have this yellow and white stripe, and I have some gray cardstock in there. So I think that'll work. Exactly. Danish, pie, cheesecake, it's all the same. We can have it for breakfast, that's fine. So I'm gonna cut some strips out of this paper, similar to what I did on the other layout. I'm just gonna do some 1-inch strips. And you could do these skinnier or wider, you know, just depending on your preference or the look you're looking for. Maybe I'll do a couple at 1.5 just to give some variation. So I've got this, I've got 2 pieces of this yellow stripe. I've got a piece of this gray. Oh, and there's a yellow polka dot on the other side. That's kind of cool. And then I've got this, oh, that has a gray and yellow on the other side. I use this so much. I think I got this collection last February. I did my New Year's Eve pages. I did a birthday page. I did so many layouts with this collection. I really enjoyed it. So there's not much left. But I will use every last piece. Now this one I don't have a full 12-inch piece, but that's okay. So make it work. I've got a couple of strips of that. And then I just have my gray here. So I am going to start with cutting these down to, I guess I want them to be 6 inches. I still need my paper trimmer. I don't know why I set it aside. I'm gonna trim these to 6 inches. Maybe 6.5 if I can. So these are all about 1.5, between 1.5 and 1 inches wide. And then I'm trimming them at 6.5 inches long. But it's really up to you in the photos that you have, you know, what you want to do for sizes and the patterns that you have, what you have for leftover scraps. This is a fun exercise if you are wanting to scrapbook. Let's say you got a day like today that you can go in the scrap room, but you just don't know what to do. Challenge yourself to just use scraps and see what you can come up with. It's a really fun challenge. All right, so these are literally just scraps now, but I will set them aside because maybe I'll still make these work. Who knows? And now I have all these, and I am going to line them up to see what looks pleasing to me. Now remember, these are all double-sided, so I'm going to flip them over to see, to kind of get the alternating colors. I like that. I feel like I need a little. So now I'm going to start to adhere these down. Now, for something like this, if you're not sure on your selection or you're not sure on how these are laying down, you could certainly use repositionable, and that would give you the option to move things around as you're placing them on your paper. Because you might say, you know, I'm not crazy about that design. And I'm not laying mine even. I'm kind of putting them, I'm staggering them a little bit because I want it to have that look of a little bit of a mishmash. I want this side for that one. So if you had the repositionable, that would give you that flexibility to move things around a little bit more if you needed to. If you weren't sold on the setup, you could certainly move them around if you had the repositionable. Okay, so there I've got a nice border set up. Now you could certainly turn it this way to have them at the bottom. You could have everything coming from the top. You know, it's just an option. You have different options for this. Now I've got this gray cardstock that I'm going to use, so hold on, let me pull out my border maker system. Because I have the new tree line, and since it's a hike, I might as well put this to good use and add some trees with that gray paper. I'm going to set my layout aside because sometimes you end up with a lot of mess after a border. Now I don't have a full sheet of this, so I'm just going to be making a few trees. Something's rattling around in there, I don't know what. This is the first time I'm using this punch, and sometimes it's a little, woo, that is, I'm going through cardstock, so it's, oh, that's so cute, I love it. All right, I'm gonna see if I can fit another one on here. Not quite, but I know I planned on bringing my, at some point I had my Post-its down here. Let me see. What did I do with my Post-it notes? I don't know. Well, I'm gonna, yeah, I guess the magnet does fit there slightly. I'm gonna punch another set of trees going the other way. Those are really cute. If you haven't tried out the tree line one yet, I recommend it. All right, I'm gonna grab my layout again. I'm gonna cut this so that I just have a little, oh, I didn't quite get through that cardstock. So my plan for the rest of the day is more scrapping and Hallmark movies. I'm just gonna have some Hallmark movies on in the background and do some scrapping and just relax and enjoy. Yes, all the food groups. Most of the food groups, yeah. Counts. All right, so now I have my trees here, and I am going to trim those as well, but first I'm just going to figure out where I want my photos to go. And I think, Yeah, I like that. That's kind of cute. I'm going to have them kind of hanging off the edge a little bit. And then I'm going to trim the trees. And this is where the repo really comes in handy because I can put some adhesive along the trees and it's not going to stick to, it's not going to stick where I don't want it to stick. So I'm going to put some on here. Oops, that was not the repo. Well, that one. So this was not quite a full 12 by 12 banner. It was probably a 6 by 12 border. And then I just trimmed it. So now I have these cute little 4-inch trees. But that's what I had for scraps. So I was making it work. Put that one there. And then I've got our 2 photos here. And then I still have space that I can do my title and my journaling. Super quick and easy layout. Just with scraps again. So there's layout number 3. Okay. I'm going to get myself a little organized before I jump into the next one because I feel, you can't see it, but over on the side I've just got like a pile of mass. And so I need to get myself a little situated. Okay, there's my other one. So I've done 3 layouts. Let's see what I have next. Yeah, adorable and simple, exactly. Oh, okay. This is my next one. Everything got pushed to the bottom of the pile. Okay, so this is what I have for my last layout, layout number 4. This is, these are pictures, it's just a picture of Halloween night with my coworker. I'm a librarian, and so we do book retreat. We give out books at the library. So there's a picture of the 2 of us at the library that night. And so I pulled out Shades of Happy Hauntings. I only have these 2 scraps because I haven't done a lot with this collection yet. But I pulled a background sheet, pulled this orange, and I have these 2 scraps. And let me show you what I'm going to do. I love, this is, I often get the shades of a collection instead of the main paper because I feel like it has more of the subtle patterns that I like and not the kind of obvious things. I love polka dots and stripes and I feel like I can make that work with anything. So oftentimes I won't get the main paper, I will just get the shades of because it's just more my style. So if you're a polka dot and stripe and more of a subtle pattern person, you might find that as well. It's just what works for me. I'm gonna grab a sheet of, I think maybe black for my background. Let me see what I have here. I don't have black here, so I'm going to do this gray. That still works. I am going to trim a 1/2 inch off of 2 sides of this paper. And this is a technique that I do all the time because I love the look of having a frame around my layout. And when you trim a 1/2 inch off, you get a 1/2 inch strip. And of course, I am going to use those strips in this page. I'm going to set that aside and I'm going to grab the gray. This is my background, but I'm going to go in and I'm going to trim a 2-inch, I'm going to trim an 8x8 square out of the center of this. So I'm starting 2 inches down and cutting all the way around. And this is just another way to be frugal with your paper because this was going to be covered up anyway, so now I have this piece that I can use. I am a super frugal scrapper. Okay, so now let me set these aside. I'm gonna grab my orange. Oh, I like that one too. That's cool. And I'm just putting adhesive along the edge. Don't put it in the middle because you have a hole in the middle of your layout. So you would make a sticky situation. And I have learned that the hard way. So now I'm placing this background paper on my gray frame. And I'm going to trim my photos so that I can mat them on the gray. And I printed these as 4x4s on a 4x6 mat. And I use a collage app that allows me to do that because then I love the look of a 4x4 photo. But if you were to just print it 4x4 from Walgreens, it's super expensive. So if you put it on a 4x6, it prints it as if it's a 4x6 photo and it costs you 10 cents. Okay, so now I'm going to mount these on the gray that I cut from the background. And then I'm just gonna trim those and I'll have a little sliver of a mat. And like I said, if you are a 2-page layout kind of person, you can easily take these techniques and just spread them out onto 2 pages. Double up what I did so that it's on 2 layouts. Cut everything in half and split it between the 2 layouts. There's lots of options. Okay, so I have my 2 photos and I am going to put them up here at an angle. Like this. Now I haven't used any scraps yet, you may have noticed. And now I'm going to take this piece of the gray paper that I trimmed. Oh, this one's longer. This was the 1/2 inch that I cut from the top. And this is going to go, turn this, oops. I'm going to tuck this right underneath my photos so it's like a little shelf that they're sitting on. And now I'm going to grab those scraps. And I have the hexagon punch. I love this hexagon punch. You could also use this, I've done this technique with the circle punch and it comes out really nice too. So what I'm going to do, oh, I see. I'm going to punch as many hexagons as I can out of this. And for this, I'm going to hold it upside down just so I can see. Oh no, that's not going to work. I'm just going to punch a bunch. This one's tricky for me because you can't see where you're punching. So now what I'm going to do is start building a little border. Underneath. Oops. I need my scissors. I'm going to cut one of these hexagons in half. Oops, that was the wrong way. I'm going to do it this way. I'm going to do it point to point. I want to alternate them. Really, I should grab a 3rd pattern because it would be nice to have a 3rd pattern to mix in. What collection was that? Well, I'm going to grab this black that was from Our Moments. Oh, and look at the polka dot. That's great. So you can definitely mix and match collections. So I'm going to grab this one and do a couple of hexagons out of this other pattern as well, because I need more. I need more patterns. Yeah, that'll be good. So I'm going to cut this one point to point. And build that one along the top. That's better. So with the circles, I did an overlap, like a faux scallop kind of look, and that came out really neat. And you can just kind of build up, and you could do this, you know, in a rainbow. You could do it in Christmas colors would be really fun. And you just kind of build up this crazy border underneath, making this kind of puzzle. So you do have to think about it a little bit, because you just punch out a bunch of this stuff and then you have to figure out where is it all going and what looks best next to each other. Depending on how many patterns you have, you might need to punch out a few more. I'm going to punch out another one to go there. And this is another good way to use your repositionable. If you're not 100% sold on where everything is going, you could use that repo to move things around a little bit. All right, I need another piece of this. I think there was another one. There was, aha. And so this is definitely not a traditional Halloween layout, but I think it works for what I'm doing. It's kind of fun, it's different. I'm going to move this one over there. And I'm going to put that one there. And I could keep going with this. I could fill the whole thing if I wanted to, you know, and certainly think about where I want to leave spots for journaling and a title. But it's a really fun way to incorporate a lot of patterns into a layout and use up some scraps. So I'll probably keep building on this and fill it in a little bit more. But here is a, let me pull out those other layouts again and just show you. So we had the ones with the hexagon scraps. We had the ones with the 2 half circles. We had the vertical strips that we cut the little banners, and then we had the horizontal stripes. So super easy ways to create layouts just using your scraps. I hope you give this a try, and certainly let me know if you do. I'd love to see your examples. I hope you have some crafty time this weekend, and certainly enjoy that leftover pie and all that extra time you have with your family. Thanks for tuning in, everybody. I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.